And Caroline Leavitt isn't just making headlines, she's also rewriting history. At 27, the New Hampshire native has become the youngest White House press secretary ever.
Sunny Hostin, her husband accused of committing federal insurance fraud in a lawsuit.
Sunny Hostin has never been one to shy away from controversy, but her recent comments about Donald Trump have thrown her into the center of a media storm that's spiraling out of control. The television personality, known for her fearless takes on politics and pop culture as a co-host on The View, has once again found herself in hot water. This time, it's not just her words stirring the pot, but an entire cascade of scandals that seem to be unraveling her carefully curated public persona.
I think he's doing something a little bit more diabolical, if I'm being honest. Representative Andy Ogles, a Republican of Tennessee, on January 23rd, just 3 days after Trump was inaugurated, already proposed amending the 22nd Amendment to allow Trump to serve a third term.
The latest uproar began when Sunny Hostin openly criticized Donald Trump during a fiery segment on The View. It didn't take long for her remarks to spark a massive backlash online and in the media. Hostin, never one to mince words, accused Trump of being out of touch with the values of everyday Americans and implied that his presidency was nothing more than a product of privilege and nepotism. He's not a success story. He's a didn't-earn-it story, she quipped, calling him a legacy hire and even labeling him as a so-called DAI hire, a term Hostin used to mock his lack of qualifications for the role. It was a jab, both calculated and provocative, but it didn't land well with everyone.
I think he doesn't want he's not going to say that J.D. Vance is a successor because he thinks he's his own successor.
But doesn't that mean that Obama can run also?
Well, you would think so because part of the resolution says no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than 3 times.
Social media exploded almost immediately, with critics accusing Hostin of hypocrisy, given her own privileged position as a media figure and legal expert. Supporters of Trump were quick to jump on her comments, calling them elitist and out of touch. Meanwhile, her fans rallied behind her, applauding her for speaking her mind and continuing to challenge Trump's legacy. The polarizing reaction was everything you'd expect from a headline-grabbing moment on daytime television. But this time, the fallout wasn't contained to just online debates. It spilled over into something far more personal and far-reaching. As if the political firestorm wasn't enough, Hostin's life has been further complicated by an ongoing legal battle involving none other than Melania Trump. Yes, you heard that right. Melania has reportedly taken legal action against Hostin for defamation. The origins of this lawsuit can be traced back to Hostin's bold commentary about the First Lady during a previous episode of The View. In one particularly heated discussion, Hostin speculated about Melania's true feelings toward her husband, Donald, remarking that she seemed to hate him and might even be actively working to undermine his political ambitions. She doesn't want to be the First Lady again, Hostin declared, suggesting that Melania's recent public statements on reproductive rights might be part of a calculated effort to distance herself from Trump's controversial policies.
Dream. Yeah. We haven't seen her, and her description of Donald Trump doesn't track with the reality of what we've seen. And I can't relate to the marriage or if they're even in the same place at the same time. So I don't think that's the way.
Melania, who has long been known for her stoicism and reluctance to engage in public disputes, apparently had enough. The lawsuit, as reported by various outlets, alleges that Hostin's comments were baseless and damaging to Melania's reputation. The legal claim reportedly demands a hefty financial settlement and a public retraction of the statements made on air. While the exact details remain murky, rumors suggest that Melania's legal team is prepared to play hardball, citing Hostin's remarks as examples of reckless defamation.
If she were a liberal, self-made millionaire migrant model who speaks 5 languages, she'd have her name on a federal building right now, no?
Hostin, for her part, has shown no signs of backing down. In fact, she's doubled down on her comments, using her platform to frame the lawsuit as an attack on free speech. "I'm not afraid of standing up for what I believe in," she reportedly told close friends, according to sources. "This isn't just about me. This is about holding people accountable and speaking truth to power." But as noble as that sounds, some critics argue that Hostin's penchant for unfiltered commentary is finally catching up with her. She's built a career on being outspoken, but there's a fine line between being bold and being reckless. One media analyst observed, and while Hostin battles legal challenges on one front, another storm brews closer to home. Her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Hostin, a prominent orthopedic surgeon, has found himself at the center of a sweeping federal lawsuit. Dr. Hostin is among nearly 200 defendants named in a massive legal case filed by American Transit, an insurance company that primarily serves rideshare drivers. The case, filed under the RICO Act, alleges widespread insurance fraud, with Dr. Hostin accused of performing unnecessary medical procedures and fraudulently billing the insurance company in exchange for kickback.
The View co-host Sunny Hostin's husband, Emmanuel Hostin, has been accused of federal insurance fraud.
The allegations are nothing short of explosive. According to the lawsuit, Dr. Hostin knowingly conducted surgeries on patients involved in minor car accidents, cases where the injuries were reportedly minimal and didn't warrant such invasive treatments. The claims suggest that these procedures were part of a larger scheme to exploit New York's no-fault insurance laws, which require companies like American Transit to cover medical expenses up to a certain limit without determining fault. The lawsuit paints a picture of systemic abuse, with Dr. Hostin allegedly receiving dividends disguised as compensation for his role in the scheme. Sunny Hostin has been vocal in defending her husband, calling the lawsuit meritless and accusing American Transit of waging a smear campaign against her family. In a fiery public statement, she claimed that the insurance company was using her celebrity status to gain media attention for their case. This is a desperate attempt by a failing company to avoid paying its bills, she said. My husband is a dedicated doctor who has spent his career helping people, and these allegations are nothing short of defamatory.
According to the documents, he knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services, including arthroscopic surgeries.
But not everyone is convinced by Hostin's defense. Critics have pointed out the glaring irony in her situation, given her history of harshly criticizing public figures for alleged wrongdoing. As one commentator put it, Sunny Hostin has made a career out of holding others to account, but now that the spotlight is on her family, she's crying foul. The sentiment has been echoed by some viewers of The View, who have taken to social media to question whether Hostin's own credibility is now in jeopardy. The legal battle has also taken a toll on Hostin's public image, with some fans questioning her ability to speak on issues of ethics and accountability while her husband faces such serious allegations. The situation has reportedly caused tensions behind the scenes at The View, where producers are said to be grappling with how to address the controversy without alienating their audience. Hostin, however, appears undeterred. She continues to use her platform to advocate for justice, insisting that both she and her husband are victims of a coordinated attack.
So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange.
What makes this saga even more fascinating is the way it intertwines personal, professional, and political drama. Hostin's criticism of Trump, her legal clash with Melania, and her husband's fraud case have created a perfect storm of controversy that threatens to overshadow her career. Yet, in true Sunny Hostin fashion, she seems determined to weather the storm, even as the odds stack up against her. As the dust settles, or perhaps continues to swirl, it's clear that Hostin's life is anything but ordinary. Whether she emerges from these challenges unscathed or finds her reputation irreparably damaged remains to be seen. One thing is certain, though, Sunny Hostin knows how to keep people talking, and for better or worse, she's once again at the center of the conversation. But the controversies don't stop there. The ripple effects of Hostin's outspoken nature and the scandals surrounding her family are beginning to expose deeper issues that go beyond her household and into the dynamics of The View itself. And as we delve into the broader controversies, including accusations of sexism, racism, and a clash involving Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, the question becomes, how much more drama can one person and one show handle? Stay tuned.
I'm going to leave that alone and ask you all the question, will the candidate's spouses getting involved like she just did? What? That's what it says.
Sunny Hostin's world is no stranger to turbulence, but lately it seems like she's caught in a whirlwind that only keeps picking up speed. Just as her husband's legal troubles and her feud with Melania Trump simmer in the background, Sunny herself faces an entirely new layer of public scrutiny. This time, it's not just about her personal life or even her sharp-tongued commentary on Donald Trump. No, this time, Sunny is at the center of a much larger storm, a storm that involves accusations of prejudice, a brewing controversy with a rising political figure, and the very culture of The View itself. Let's dive straight into it. If you thought Sunny's comments about Trump were bold, her past remarks about certain voter groups have sparked even more heated debates. In an episode of The View, Sunny made waves by attributing Donald Trump's electoral victories to what she described as non-college educated white women and Latino men. And she didn't stop there. Sunny claimed that these groups had voted against their own best interests, a statement that sent shockwaves across social media and beyond. While some viewers applauded her for telling it like it is, just as many criticized her for making sweeping generalizations that they felt were dismissive and divisive.
You have Latino men actually voting more for him, and you have and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president. Right. So why do you think that uneducated white women voted against their reproductive health freedoms, and why do you think Latino men voted in favor of someone that's going to deport, says he's going to deport the majority of his...
The backlash was swift and ferocious. Critics accused Sunny of stereotyping entire demographics and questioned how someone with such a legal and intellectual background could make such pointed remarks. One user on social media summed up the sentiment by saying, Sunny Hostin talks about inclusivity and equality, then she turns around and paints entire groups of people with one broad brush. How is that any better than the biases she claims to fight against? This wasn't just a one-off moment of controversy. It was ammunition in the ongoing debate about whether The View has become too polarizing for its own good. And the accusations didn't end with claims of stereotyping. Sunny's critics began digging into her past comments, compiling a highlight reel of moments they deemed problematic. From her sharp critiques of certain political figures to her fiery debates with her own co-hosts, Sunny's history of speaking her mind was suddenly being reframed as evidence of a deeper bias. Some even accused her of hypocrisy, pointing out how she often champions progressive causes while simultaneously making remarks that they felt undermined the very principles she claims to uphold. It's a messy situation, to say the least, and one that has started to raise questions about The View as a whole.
But speaking of Donald Trump, I was stunned and amazed by his new White House spokeswoman today. She's actually the youngest ever in that job.
Now, let's talk about The View, a show that has never shied away from controversy but may now find itself teetering on the edge of its own undoing. For years, the show has prided itself on being a platform for diverse perspectives, a place where hard-hitting conversations happen and no topic is off limits. But lately, it seems like the debates have gone from spirited to downright contentious, with accusations of bias and favoritism flying left and right. Fans of the show are starting to wonder if the balance of viewpoints has been lost, and Sunny's recent controversies have only added fuel to that fire. And it's not just the viewers who are noticing the cracks in the foundation. Behind the scenes, tensions among the co-hosts have reportedly reached new heights. Sources close to the production claim that Sunny's outspoken nature has caused friction among the panel, with one insider allegedly saying Sunny loves to dominate the conversation, and not everyone is okay with that. It's created a lot of tension on set, and some of the other hosts feel like their voices are getting drowned out. Whether or not this is true, the perception of discord is enough to keep fans buzzing, and not necessarily in a good way. But just when you think Sunny's plate is full, along comes another controversy to pile on. This time, the drama centers on Caroline Leavitt, the newly appointed White House press secretary under Donald Trump's administration. In her first press briefing, Leavitt made headlines by declaring that there would be no more funding for wokeness under the new administration. The remark ignited a media firestorm, with commentators from all sides weighing in on what exactly she meant by wokeness. And, of course, The View wasted no time diving into the topic. Sunny, true to form, didn't hold back. While discussing Leavitt's remarks, she questioned the press secretary's qualifications for the role, suggesting that her appointment was more about optics than merit.
I think she's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10.
The backlash was immediate. Social media lit up with criticism, with many accusing Sunny of being dismissive and even misogynistic in her remarks about Leavitt. So much for women supporting women. One Twitter user wrote, while another added, Sunny Hostin wants to be taken seriously, but she's out here reducing another woman's accomplishments to her looks. How disappointing. Even some of Sunny's fans found it hard to defend her in this instance, with one commenter saying, I love Sunny, but this was a bad take. She's better than this. But Sunny wasn't the only one to face criticism for the segment. The entire panel of The View came under fire for what many saw as a tone-deaf and overly critical discussion of Leavitt's appointment. Co-host Joy Behar added to the controversy by echoing Sunny's remarks, saying, she's there because she's attractive. Let's not kid ourselves. These comments only served to amplify the outrage, with some calling for the show to issue an apology to Leavitt.
They really don't like this woman. She's a good communicator. And so Joy Behar just offered her analysis on why Leavitt was picked for the role.
Leavitt herself has largely stayed above the fray, focusing instead on her new role and the challenges ahead. But the controversy surrounding her appointment and the remarks made by The View have sparked a broader conversation about the media's treatment of women in politics. Supporters of Leavitt argue that she's being unfairly targeted because of her association with Trump, while critics of her policies maintain that scrutiny is both fair and necessary. Either way, it's clear that her tenure as press secretary is off to a dramatic start, and The View's involvement in the controversy has only added to the spectacle.
Isn't it rich that The View is saying she got the job based on looks when DEI is all about based on looks?
So where does this leave Sunny Hostin? On one hand, her willingness to speak. Her mind has cemented her status as one of the most talked about figures on daytime television. On the other hand, her recent controversies have raised serious questions about her ability to navigate the fine line between bold commentary and reckless rhetoric. Whether she's clashing with political figures, defending her husband against fraud allegations, or weathering backlash for her remarks about voter demographics, Sunny's life is a constant balancing act, and one that seems to be growing increasingly precarious. And yet, despite all of this, Sunny remains unapologetic. For better or worse, she continues to use her platform to tackle the issues she's passionate about, even if it means ruffling a few feathers along the way. Whether she emerges from these controversies stronger than ever or finds her reputation permanently tarnished, one thing is certain: Sunny Hostin isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But with so many fires burning around her, the question is, how much longer can she keep this up? And more importantly, what does her future hold amid the chaos? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, stay tuned because this story is far from over.